Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Yeah, always.
Today we're exploring something a little different. A collection of devotional readings specifically for women.
Interesting.
It's not about, like, going through each one,
Right.
but more about uncovering those gems,
Oh, I like that. Uncovering gems, yeah.
those insights and advice that really hit home.
Like we're treasure hunting.
Exactly. And it gives us this unique glimpse into the lives and, well, the hearts of women who, are seeking a life grounded in faith.
Absolutely. Like what are their worries and what brings them comfort?
Right. And what kind of tips do these readings offer for handling the ups and downs of life?
All the real life stuff.
Yeah. So not just Sunday school stuff, but actual advice for navigating life's challenges.
Exactly.
I'm already hooked. One thing that really jumped out at me was how many readings emphasize having a personal relationship with God.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just about going to church, but feeling connected to something bigger,
Yeah.
on a daily basis. Does that resonate with you at all?
Absolutely. It's about cultivating that constant dialogue with the divine.
Yeah.
Finding strength and guidance in that connection. And so many readings use powerful metaphors to make this, more tangible.
Oh, like what?
Well, for example, one compares God to a mighty warrior who saves.
Okay, yeah.
But then right after, it paints this image of God as a loving parent rejoicing over you with singing.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's from Zephaniah 3.17. Powerful.
It
Read
is. It's like we all get that feeling of being unconditionally loved.
Mhm.
Like having a parent who's always in your corner, cheering you on.
Exactly. It makes this idea of God feel less intimidating
Right.
and so much more relatable, like someone who's truly invested in our well-being. And it emphasizes the emotional side of faith, wouldn't you say?
Totally. There's also another reading that contrasts the everyday desires we all have with this deeper soul thirst for God.
Oh, interesting.
And it even quotes Psalm 42.1-2,
Okay.
which describes this, like, intense longing. you
Yeah.
know? It's like that feeling when you're really craving something.
Yeah.
But it's not just physical hunger, right?
Right,
It's a
right.
deeper yearning for something more. Have you ever felt that?
I think we all experience that at different times in our lives.
Yeah.
And that's where these readings suggest, finding solace in connecting with something bigger than ourselves.
Okay, so that's pretty deep stuff. But what about practical advice?
Yeah, good question.
I mean, how do these readings actually tell us to strengthen our faith?
Right. Not just the theory, but the how-to.
Exactly.
Well, there are actually quite a few tips that pop up again and again.
Oh, really? Like what?
One that kept coming up was prioritizing prayer and Bible study.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's like making those big things a priority,
Right.
even when life gets, crazy busy.
Yeah, that's easier said than done, though.
Oh, totally.
Especially these days.
Yeah.
Everything feels so urgent.
It does, but the readings actually use this example of Jesus himself,
Oh, wow.
making time to pray before sunrise.
Really?
Yeah, as described in Mark 1.35.
Huh.
And it's like, if he made the time, maybe we can too, right?
Yeah, good point.
Even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
I guess it's about building it into your routine,
Yeah,
even if it's just a small amount of time.
exactly. Another strategy they emphasize is remembering those times when you felt God's help in your own life.
That's interesting.
It's about looking back at those moments where you felt supported or guided, like,
Yeah.
recognizing those personal wins.
Oh, I see.
1 Chronicles 16.12 actually tells us to remember his marvelous works,
Okay.
to reflect on those experiences.
So it's not just blind faith, but actively recalling those moments where things worked out,
Right.
maybe even when you didn't expect it to.
Exactly. It's like building evidence for your belief.
Yeah.
Reminding yourself of those times when you felt God's presence in your life. And this can be powerful, especially when you're feeling lost or overwhelmed.
Wow, I'm already taking notes here. It's like these readings are full of little pep talks.
They really are. And there's one more recurring theme that I thought was really interesting.
Mhm.
It's this call to choose to serve God above all else.
Mm.
Kind of a gut check, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's asking, are our actions, actually aligning with our beliefs?
That's a big question. Like, what do we truly value?
Right, and where do we put our energy and focus?
Yeah.
Joshua 24.15 puts it so plainly. Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve.
Wow.
It's not passive. It's a choice we make every single day
Yeah.
through our actions.
Powerful stuff. And, one thing that kept popping up for me was friendship,
Oh, yeah.
both with God and with each other. It was really touching.
Yes, it's this thread of connection that runs through so many of these readings, and it starts with the idea of God being our ultimate friend,
Yeah.
someone who knows us and loves us unconditionally, as described in Luke 5:20.
Right. But it doesn't end there, does it?
Nope.
It goes on to highlight the importance of our earthly friendships, too.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about having fun with friends, right?
Right.
It's about being there for each other through, the good and the bad, offering support and compassion when we need it most.
For sure.
And some of these stories were so powerful.
Yeah.
Like one reading talks about this woman whose grandmother kept making hurtful comments at Easter.
Oh, wow.
It brings up this reminder from Matthew 18.21-22 about forgiving 70 times 7 times. 70 times 7. That's a lot, isn't it?
That does sound impossible.
Yeah.
But it speaks to this idea of, the power of forgiveness, like releasing that anger and resentment.
Right.
It can create space for healing, both for the person being forgiven and the one offering forgiveness.
Wow. That's a lot to process. Forgiveness isn't just about the other person then.
Right.
It's about freeing yourself from those, negative feelings as well.
Exactly. There's this other story, too, about a woman who's rushing home and just completely ignores this boy who has fallen down and needs help.
Oh, no.
And then it contrasts this with the parable of the Good Samaritan
Yeah, I remember that one.
from Luke 10.36-37.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a reminder that we're called to be there for others,
For sure.
even when it's inconvenient.
Totally. Have you ever been so caught up in your to-do list that you missed a chance to lend a hand?
Oh, all the time. It's so easy to get caught up in our own world.
Right.
And we forget about the needs of others.
It happens to the best of us. Luckily, the readings offer some advice on this, too.
Oh, good.
They suggest we surround ourselves with godly friends who encourage us,
Yeah, I like that.
people we can trust and share our dreams with,
Mm-hmm.
just like in Judges 7.30.
I love that. And Proverbs 17.17 says, "A friend loveth at all times."
That's a true friend, isn't it?
It is.
Oh.
Someone who's there for you no matter what.
Absolutely. Speaking of challenges, these readings also talk about some really specific issues that many women face.
Oh, that's great.
It gets really real,
Yeah.
which I think is what makes them so relatable.
I agree.
For instance, they talk about stress,
Oh, yeah.
feeling overwhelmed,
Mm.
and they even a reference to Samuel 22.5 and 7,
Okay.
which talks about, drawing strength from God when you feel like you have nothing left.
It's like leaning on a higher power when you're totally depleted. They also discuss body image and the pressure to be beautiful,
Right.
contrasting that with the idea of inner beauty,
Yeah.
the kind of beauty that God values,
Mm-hmm.
referencing Proverbs 11.22.
It's like saying true beauty comes from within, not trying to fit some, external standard.
Exactly. And of course, money worries are a big one for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And the readings remind us that God is our provider, not money.
Right.
Drawing on Matthew 6.24, which says you can't serve both God and money.
That's so true. It's about, choosing where you put your trust.
Right.
Really makes you think. One thing that I really loved about these readings was the way they use such vivid language and imagery.
Yes. It's not dry or academic at all.
Right.
It's full of these metaphors that really paint a picture in your mind.
I love that. It makes it so much more memorable.
For sure. One metaphor that I thought was really striking was comparing peace to a river.
Ooh, I like that.
Isaiah 48.18 says, "Our peace can be as constant as a river if we're following God's ways."
That's beautiful imagery. It's so much more powerful than just saying, be peaceful.
Right. You can practically hear that water flowing,
Yeah.
bringing that sense of calm.
And serenity. And another one that I found really resonated with me was this idea of needing to keep our hearts diligently.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's in Proverbs 4.23.
Mm,
And it emphasizes the heart as, the source of everything we do,
right.
like all our actions and choices.
Exactly. It's like a sacred space that we have to protect.
It's like saying, guard your heart, because what's inside will eventually come out
Right.
and affect everything you do.
That's a great way to put it. And then there's this really interesting metaphor about Christians being the fragrance of Christ, as described in 2 Corinthians 2.15-16.
Oh, that one's interesting. What does that even mean?
It's this idea that our presence, like our very spirit, has an aroma, a fragrance that can either draw people in or push them away.
Wow, that's really thought-provoking.
It is, right. It makes you think about the impact you're having on the people around you.
Totally. Like, what kind of scent are you leaving behind?
Exactly. And that leads us perfectly to the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Because beyond all these recurring themes, there were some really surprising bits of wisdom that I just didn't expect at all.
Really? Like what?
Little gems that really make you stop and think.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, one that stood out to me was a story about this woman who felt invisible.
Invisible, huh?
Like she was just overlooked by everyone.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
And the reading connected this feeling to the story of Mary Magdalene being the first person to see the risen Christ.
Oh, wow. From John 20.1.
Yes.
I love that story.
It's so powerful.
It's like saying that even when we feel unseen by the world, God sees us.
Exactly. He values us no matter how insignificant we might feel.
And there was another story about a skilled craftsman named Huram.
Oh, yeah, Huram. He was summoned by the king, right?
Yep, it's in 1 Kings 7.13.
That's the one. And what's so interesting about this story is that it shows how God can use ordinary people to do amazing things.
Yeah.
If we're willing to let him. You know, you don't have to be famous or have some big title.
Right, yeah.
It's about stepping up and saying, here I am, use me.
I love that message. It's like saying your skills and talents matter.
They do.
They have a purpose.
Exactly. Even if you feel like just an average person.
I think that's why these readings are so appealing.
I agree.
They're filled with unexpected insights and stories
Yeah.
that really connect with, well, with our own lives.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
And they encourage us to look deeper
Yeah.
and connect with something larger than ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
But that metaphor about Christians being the fragrance of Christ,
Yeah.
it's really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of aroma do I give off?
Right. It's a powerful image.
It is.
Yeah.
It makes you think, am I repelling people or drawing them in?
Exactly. And I think it ties back to all these themes we've been talking about.
Yeah.
You know, are we striving to live out our faith? Are we trying to be that source of strength for others?
Your actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. If we're all about love and kindness on Sunday,
Right.
but then, you know, we turn around and gossip during the week,
Yeah.
people are going to notice that disconnect. Our fragrance is a reflection of our character, not just what we say we believe.
Totally. So it's not about being perfect,
Right.
but trying to be more Christ-like
Exactly.
in how we interact with others.
I think that's a really important point. It's a journey, not a destination. And, you know, speaking of journeys, I wanted to bring up another insight that I thought was super relevant
Oh, yeah.
to our, you know, world today. It's about waiting patiently.
Waiting patiently for what?
Waiting patiently on God, even when things feel stuck.
Oh, I relate to that.
Right.
We live in this instant gratification world.
Totally.
Yeah.
We want it all now.
Exactly. But what happens when, like, our prayers aren't answered right away?
Yeah, exactly. Or when things don't change as fast as we want them to.
It's so easy to get discouraged, you know?
It is. It's easy to lose hope. This one reading I came across, it references Habakkuk 2.3.
Okay.
And it basically says, if it seems slow, wait patiently. It will happen. It will not be delayed.
I love that.
Right.
It's a reminder that God's timing isn't always our timing.
Right. And that's where trust comes in. It's about surrendering to, you know, this bigger plan,
Yeah.
even if we don't get it right now. Finding that peace in the moment while still holding on to hope for the future. Have you ever struggled with that?
Oh, definitely. It's so hard to let go of that need to control everything. It's like I have the vision board, I'm doing the work, but it's still not happening fast enough.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
And this is a reminder that sometimes the waiting is part of the process.
Okay.
It's about trusting that something good is unfolding, even if we can't see it yet.
Okay, I'm getting chills. That's deep.
Right.
So faith isn't just about believing in something, it's about trusting in someone.
Exactly. Even when things are tough.
Even when things are tough.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I wanted to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay, I like it. A little cliffhanger.
Yes. So it builds on that whole fragrance of Christ metaphor.
I'm ready.
Okay, so imagine your life is like a garden.
Okay, a garden. I like it.
What kind of seeds are you planting?
Ooh, good question.
Through your words and your actions,
Mm-hmm.
your choices each day.
Mm-hmm.
Are you planting kindness, generosity?
Mm.
Or are you planting, anger, resentment, bitterness?
It's like our lives are constantly producing fruit, either good or bad, depending on what we're putting into them.
Right. And like a real garden, it takes effort.
It does.
We have to be intentional about, cultivating the good
Yeah.
and weeding out the bad.
Love that. So the question for our listeners is, what kind of garden are you cultivating?
What kind of fruit are you putting out into the world?
That's a really good question to ponder. And I think these readings can offer some really helpful guidance along the way.
It really makes you think about the impact you're having.
It does.
Like what kind of legacy are you creating? Not just for yourself, but for the people around you. Are you making things better?
Right. Are you adding beauty to the world or the opposite?
That's a good way to put it. It's about recognizing that we all have the power to make a difference,
We do.
no matter how small it might seem.
It's those ripple effects.
Yes.
One little act of kindness can just spread and spread.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all of this really ties back to that idea of, seeking God in everyday life.
It does. It's less about preaching.
Right.
And more about living a life that reflects those values, letting
Yeah.
your light shine,
Yeah. Inspiring those around you. Isn't that the whole point? To not just believe in something, but to actually put those beliefs into action. To be the hands and feet, so to speak.
Yeah, to offer compassion,
Right.
to offer help.
To those who need it. That's powerful.
It is, and it's a reminder for everyone.
Yeah.
No matter what you believe, we all have that ability to, make a positive impact.
Well said. So, to our listeners, if you're looking for some inspiration, we encourage you to check out these readings.
Yes.
See what resonates with you.
So what you discover.
Exactly. And as you go about your day, think about that garden metaphor.
Yeah, the garden.
What kind of seeds are you planting?
What kind of fragrance are you bringing to the world?
Because even those little acts of kindness, they can make a big difference.
Absolutely. They can create a more beautiful world.
A more fragrant world. For all of us.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.